You are such a role model to so many women in particular because you kind of pushed the reset button at one point in your life and did what you always wanted to do. But we're going to back up right now before you get to that story. You grew up as an only child who was poor. Books from the beginning had much more meaning to you.
They did. We had no money. I only got a book at Christmas and New Year. So I made up my own stories and thought that everybody did that because I was a reader and books became my companions. And it just seemed logical to me that when I grew up, I'd just write books.
Yeah. All right. So you became a cadet journalist for the newspaper because at least I can write. And as you made that statement to me at lunch the other day, no one graduates from college and says, okay, now I'm a novelist.
I left school at 15. We had to pay for college and my mother couldn't afford to send me to university. So I left school at 15 and wisely our great Uncle Jim sent me into work in a newspaper office. Best training I could have done for writing. Yeah. So, and then I married an American diplomat. I traveled the world, and you know, you're suddenly pushing 40, and you go, whatever happened to the dream of writing books one day?
Yeah, but even before writing the books, you became, speaking of dreams, this is a lot of people's dreams, the host of a national talk show, Good Morning Australia. I'm surprised it wasn't Good Day Australia, but Good Morning Australia for 8 years. Some people would have thought that's enough.
Yeah, well, I thought it was a great job because I started at 3 a.m. and then I would leave at 10 and I would go home and write the great Australian novel. However, I was the entertainment reporter, so I had to go to movies, I had to see shows, I had to talk to people. So I would get to bed at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. and be, you know, up again at 2 a.m. And I did that for 8 years, and you know, just one morning you wake up and you just think, whatever happened to the dream? I'm going to change my life.
And for a lot of people, your job gets in the way of your dream, right? Now, were you around at this point?
Gabrielle,
yeah. So what are your earliest memories of your mom?
Yeah. Well, on a set like this, really. I mean, I grew up, my childhood was, when I wasn't in school, was watching my mother do television.
And going to interview famous people.
Going to interviews, meeting
yawn.
the celebrities, thinking that was, you know, a fantastic career. But I knew my mom wanted to be a writer, and so I kept sort of watching her have this tension between having a wonderful job in the media, but it wasn't actually what her dream was, which was to write books.
Which is a great lesson there, is that you know, sometimes life gets in the way of what your heart really wants to do.
And you know how you change it? You wake up one morning, and I was there on Friday, and I said to the producer, I'm not doing this anymore, it's been lovely, goodbye. Actually, it wasn't, because we had a string of awful chauvinist producers, not like these lovely people, and so I wasn't there on Monday. And I went and lived in, I had no money, and I went and lived in a little shack at the beach, and I thought, I'm nearly going to be 40, if I don't try, I'll never know if I can do it.
Right.
And so I was, you know, that was very hard, but my first book worked, and here we are.
Yeah. Heart of the Dreaming?
Yes, that was the first book. Yeah. And now it's 26.
Yep. Yeah. In fact, she's known as Australia's most successful female writer. Okay. And so, not surprised that when it kind of led over to her daughter, right, Gabrielle, that you also have been an author. But I used to always ask you, she's been on our show before, and she's like a sexologist, so we've done our therapy shows before. Yes. And I ask you, so when you come home to your parents and say, hey, guess what I'm going to major in, because you have a PhD, you said, well, my mom would never judge that because she's all about doing what your interests are and encouraging what is it you wanted to do.
Right. I grew up with that, not just being told you can do anything, follow your passion, do what you love. And my mom always says, write what you love. Right. But having it role modeled. You know, my mother's taken a lot of risks in her career, and so I knew that some people couldn't go home to their parents and say, well, actually, I'm not going to be a professor or a doctor or a lawyer. I'm going to study sex therapy and relationships instead, and they, you know, might be just kicked out of the house. Yeah, right. I had the perfect mother who just sort of said,
how great!
Yeah, right.
As long as you
hot tickets for the Great Sex Urge and stuff like that. And Mom may have read that book cover to cover too.
But you know, pretty cool mom.
But it's funny. On the flip side, in your novels, you don't have those steamy sex scenes.
No, I don't, because I am no good at writing them. So I tried having Gabrielle.
Well, if you read her books, you probably would get. Right.
But I found that my readers go from 15 to 90, women and men, and I found that women didn't want sex scenes in my books because there's other things, and so
those other things. Tell us basically what your characters are about, because there's a lot of intrigue.
My books are all They're about relationships and families, but they're inspired by a place, and I go and I live in the place for a month to do the research. So it's environmental, it's the background.
You've lived with
history,
Aboriginal groups
cultural.
before?
I did. I wrote a book. You know, that was a life-changing experience to camp with a group of Narinian people in the Kimberley. Changed our lives. It was wonderful. Yeah.
Your new book is Tears of the Moon.
Well, that's my favorite book, actually.
The favorite one, Tears of the Moon.
That's for you, Deborah.
Thank you very much. I love this. Okay, so is this the one that's going to be turned into a
TV
drama series? Okay,
yeah.
And you'd love to see an Aussie play the role, right?
Yeah. Well, I could be. Well, I'm talking to Liam Hemsworth lives. You know, he's around.
He's around.
Yeah. So
I'm going to have to come visit you in the land down under.
Well, the lead character is a very sexy hero, so
it's Liam Hemsworth. Yeah. But here we go. It's 2 inspiring journeys, 2 unforgettable women, and 1 amazing story. Di Morrissey presents Tears of the Moon.
Job.
Yeah, right. So there's the thing. And basically, what this is about?
Well, it's set in a magical part of Australia, and it's the history actually starts at a modern story and a contemporary story, but it's based around the pearling industry. Australia makes the best pearls in the world. You call them South Sea pearls, but they come from Broome in the Kimberley.
Okay. Well, Australia loves you because you're a great ambassador for the land down under, and we love you because as school gets underway, a lot of teachers encouraging parents to get their kids to read, and that's been passed on to the next generation, your grandchildren, your children, Gabrielle. So
this is Sonoma. Everton turned 8 yesterday, had his birthday, didn't you, honey? You had a great party, and this is Sonoma, a reader.
Okay, what do you love about reading, Sonoma?
Well, I love to find the stories and see just what's going on.
Yeah, and what about you? What do you love about reading?
I just love like the characters in the books.
Yeah, it helps you escape and get away, doesn't it? And use your imagination
There's
as well.
nothing better than seeing a child lost in a book. It's the greatest gift that you can get. But also to go outside.
All right. Well, thank you, Di, for passing that gift on to your daughter, Gabrielle, and to your children. And
enjoy the book.
I will enjoy this book, and I'm going to enjoy Gabrielle's books too.